John Thornton here, allproblogger.com with my AFC North report after week 3. I got a little shakeup in my rankings. Last week it was Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Even though all teams were 1-1, they all were playing a little differently after week 2. Um, you know, the Ravens and the Steelers played each other. The Bengals and the Browns played each other. So this week, after week 3, I have a little different ranking. I have the Ravens back at the top spot. I think that they played a little better this week than the Steelers did. And the Steelers had a close game, which I talked about last week with the Colts. I felt like the Colts would give them probably their best shot of the season. They gave it to the Steelers on the national stage, and the Steelers won the game late. So I have the Ravens number 1. They went up. They beat St. Louis pretty handily. It was a solid win. There was never any doubt who was going to win that game. The Ravens got their passing game going. Rookie Torrey Smith, I think he had 3 receiving touchdowns or 3 touchdowns. Ray Rice got going. Joe Flacco looked better, and the defense played well. St. Louis is a struggling team. They have a bunch of injuries offensively, but the Ravens took care of business. Give them credit, so I put them back at the top spot. The Steelers took care of business with the Colts. That was a tough game, tough one to play. You're facing a team that they know that their season is going down the drain, so they gave you their best shot. I doubt if the Colts play that well again soon until they really get everything figured out without Peyton Manning up there. So I put the Steelers 2 this week, at the number 2 spot. At number 3, I'm going Cleveland Browns. They're 2-1. Last week I had them behind the Bengals. I felt like the Bengals were a better team when they played each other, and I felt like the Bengals, played a decent game at the end against the Broncos. They came up a little bit short, so I felt like the Bengals were on the verge of doing some good things. So I just had the Bengals ahead of the Browns last week, even though everybody was 1-1. This week, I felt like the Browns would lose to the Broncos. I picked them to lose, and so I'm gonna give them credit for getting a win. That was a big win at home. So the Browns have won 2 in a row, starting to get a little bit of confidence there, going a little momentum. Colt McCoy is getting a little more comfortable in the new system. The defense is playing a lot better. Young defense for the Browns. So they got some good things cooking up there. I still don't think they're where they need to be or where they might think they are. I don't think that they're a good team at this point. They struggle. But I think winning 2 in a row, 1 in Indy, a tough place to play, and then 2 against a physical Miami team, you got to give those guys some credit. So the Browns in my 3rd spot, and the Bengals go back to the basement. They go back to the bottom position in my AFC North rankings. They're 1-2, where everyone else in the division is 2-1. And if you're looking at it closely, I know a lot of people don't, outside of Cincinnati or non-Bengals fans, but this team could easily be 3-0. Okay, there's a very good chance that they could have been 3-0. It's not like we're just saying it. Or they could be 0-3. They were Joe Hayden not getting lined up away from being 0-3. I think they struggled in the Browns game. So you really don't know what you have at this point with this team. I don't think that they will win a lot of games. I think that this year has to be, we need to get Andy Dalton ready for 2012. We need to do everything to really establish a foundation for Dalton, establish a foundation for the offense, how they're going to play when they do get good, when they do become a good team, and defensively. This is a year, and I said it a few weeks ago, I think it was on Bengals.com, that the Bengals are playing with house money because nobody expects them to play well, so it's not like they have huge pressure to do it. The games aren't sold out, so the public really doesn't feel like the team is relevant. So why not just take this year and build everything that you want to build. Build a way that you're going to play, a way that you're going to run things in your organization. The way that, it seemed like they just pieced together this team with 1-year contracts with Cedric, with Manny Lawson, Thomas Howard. You picked up Taylor Mays. That looks like a future pick. You did some things, and you signed some guys long term, Leon Whitworth. So to me, this is a rebuilding year. Accept it, and then really start to establish a style of play. And I felt like this week, the game was 3-0 for a long time, and it shouldn't have been. The 49ers, if anybody, I know a lot of people didn't see it because, you know, it was probably about 40,000 at the stadium. But if you sat there and watched that game, you didn't feel like the 49ers were going to win at any point. You didn't think they would even attempt any kind of play offensively that was going to work. And the Bengals defense played great. The defensive line played the best game, I think, in the Marvin Lewis era. I think that as far as the pass rushing presence that they had, guys getting sacks, guys getting pressure, and different guys were doing it too. It wasn't like it was one guy. So you wasted the effort of the defensive line. The linebackers played pretty good. The corners played well. The safeties still can't cover the tight ends. But I feel like these guys had a good overall game. And offensively, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what the mindset was in the second and third quarter at all. You know, the first quarter they came out, first drive, went right down the field, got to like the 1 or 2 yard line, and then stalled. You know, and that's okay. First drive, you got points, but you don't go back and just screw that up. Don't go back and say, well, let's try this now. You saw what was working. You saw the passing game was working. I just think they have a tendency to have to run the ball. Oh, we're going to be dominant. We're going to be physical. No, you don't have to do that. I don't think Cedric Benson, and I felt like this in 2009, I don't think getting him the ball 30 times is very productive because they don't score that way. They don't score when they pound the ball. They eat up clock and they may get yards, but they don't score. And that's what happened in 2009. And everybody wants to keep going back to that. Oh, we did this in 2009 when we swept the division. No, that's not what happened. What happened was you had some comebacks, you know, by throwing the ball. You had a comeback against Pittsburgh. You had a comeback against Baltimore. A comeback against Green Bay up in Green Bay, the second game of the season. The first game of the season against the Denver Broncos in 2009, it was 7-6. So it's not like you were, you know, the offense was great then. So to me, it's like they want to get back to a place offensively that really wasn't that successful. You just happened to win games because other parts of the team was good, like the defense and, you know, special teams was decent. Bernard Scott was running back kicks and Andre Caldwell was running back kicks. So, I mean, you know, to me, they got to let Andy Dalton. I know he's a rookie, but he's a guy that came out of the spread system at TCU. He's comfortable in the shotgun. He's not like he can't play in the shotgun. A.J. Green is a beast receiver. Jermaine Gresham is a tight end that's used to catching the ball. Give him the ball. You know, don't make him a blocker all the time. He's not a blocker. He's going to miss blocks. Like he said after the game, you know, he feels like he's holding the team back because he's missing blocks. Get him out of there. You know, let him line up wide and do things like that. I just think that this offense has to be on the attack. You know, don't try to get into this ground and pound game because that's not going to get you points, especially when you look around the AFC and teams like the Bills, the Patriots, even the Jets can put up points all over. You know, the Houston Texans. So if you have to face any of these teams, you're going to lose because you can't put up the points. So that's what they should be working towards, finding a way to get an offense that's productive. And I understand the mentality of eating up clock and having 150 yards rushing, whatever it is you want to do. But you have to be aggressive. You look at a team like the Raiders, they want to run the ball on you, but they have explosive players run. Darren McFadden is an explosive player. You know, he got 170, 180 on the Jets with like 19 carries yesterday. So that's not happening with Cedric Benson. He's not that kind of runner. So I don't think you can keep pounding him like he's just going to, you know. Now, he's a good runner. I like Cedric, but I just think going into it, this team isn't that ground and pound type team because they make too many mistakes with penalties. Something bad usually happens when they have 10-play drives. So that's my only problem. I left the stadium yesterday feeling like, man, they just let one slip away, and they didn't have to because that game was a game you should have won. You had a lot of good things going on in the field, but you couldn't score against a team that really wasn't, you know, defense of the 49ers wasn't great. You know, we talked about Justin Smith going into the game. He didn't do anything. You know, Whitworth played well against him. Nate Livings played really well against him, you know, and so you got to give those guys credit. I felt like the Bengals' right guard didn't play well. You know, 49ers got pressure on him, but, you know, it was a good performance by the team, but they just couldn't score. So to me, they have to go on the attack offensively to get something going this year. They played 3 games. They should have won. And they also played 3 games they should have lost. So that's why I don't think any game for the Bengals is a gimme. They don't have an easy schedule because they aren't there yet where they can look at people and consider them a W. You know, people look at the Bengals as a W right now, and that's just because they're, you know, a team that really doesn't have that identity, right? And you got a rookie quarterback, you never know what you're going to get. So the Bengals, I know I gave a long explanation there, but the Bengals are in the basement at 1-2 of the AFC North. Big week. We'll get into that later in the, in a few days. Talk about the matchups coming up this week. But on a Monday, after week 3, I have the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Bengals.